Hey folks, it's Keith Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, also known as the Shaky Key, for what I used to say were my Morse code abilities when I first learned Morse back in 89 and 90. So, what I want to look at today is along those lines, actually. I've been watching a discussion, some would call it a debate, but a discussion taking place in one of the many groups that I follow on when should you begin sending practice, practice sending those letters that you've been learning. And there's two schools of thought and lots of merit to both sides of it. It's not sort of a clear black and white issue. So what I want to look at today is give you some of my thoughts, and then maybe you folks can you know, add your thoughts down below, and we'll see exactly where everyone comes from. And I find every time you see one of these discussions and you read through them, you learn something every time. There's something that comes up that you say to yourself, "Aha, I didn't know that." So no discussion, is always one-sided. There's always two or three or four or five sides to a discussion. So in this particular one, it tends to focus on two schools of thought. One is that you're best to learn all your letters, your numbers. I'm just going to refer to them as the letters, but I'm talking really everything here, the numbers, the punctuation, the pro signs, and so on. One school of thought is learn to copy them, right? A lot of practice listening, a lot of practice learning those letters, learn to copy them, learn to recognize them, and so on, and get to that point where you instantly know them. And the other school of thought is you sort of do it as you go along. So if you're doing, I don't know, three letters today, whatever the three letters are, then you should be practicing sending those as well. So you're, in other words, you're not going to wait till you know the whole alphabet and so on. You're going to go practice as you go along. So those are the two schools of thought. Now, on one side, they say, if you do this right off the bat, you're just encouraging very sloppy sending practices. After all, the person is not being taught how to send. They've not been taught how to maybe hold the key or position the key, or in some schools it would be a paddle and so on. And there is some merit to that. Certainly, I look at when I went through, and I'm one of those who says, practice as you go, or practice your sending as you go. And I look at how the location of the key on my desk has changed. I look at the shape of the key and what I prefer now compared to what I preferred when I started. I look at how I position my fingers on the key has changed, just as the gap and so on. So there's lots of things change as you go along, and I'm not of that opinion that if you take it up right at the beginning, you're going to end up a sloppy sender down the road. Other people have that opinion, and if you listen to some of the sending on the air, they maybe have a few valid points there as well. But I do think, and the way I prefer to teach is, as you do the letters, you start to practice them. You practice the sending as well as the receiving. A computer sends perfect code. You won't send perfect code when you start. You're going to make all sorts of mistakes. Listen to the people on the air. Do you hear computer perfect code coming from the average operator? Even the operators who've maybe been doing this 40, 50 years, do you hear perfect code? No. So, while I don't want to encourage bad code, I would say I do think you should practice. But part of that practice, so if you're learning three letters today, I don't know, KLM or whatever it happens to be, and you're learning those three letters today, I think once you've got them down, once you'll be able to listen to them, copy them, yeah, practice sending them. But part of that practice should be recording yourself. Now, if you have a smartphone, which most people do now, they have a voice memo section. Listen to yourself, record yourself. And I would always say to people and to my students, save that first one. So whatever letters you're learning today, save it. As you go forward and you learn the rest of the letters, the alphabet, and so on, save those first ones that you end up sending, because down the road it's fun a week or two later, after you've been practicing more and more, make another recording, then compare the two. you're going to find that second or third recording, you're much better than you were in that first one. And for me, that's a motivating factor right off the bat. And yes, in learning Morse code, I think you really do need motivation. And I think that is one of the points that both sides missed out on, and or I really haven't seen it in the discussion. Motivation. Learning Morse code is brutal. It can be hard. It can take you a long time. It can be frustrating. There's a lot of roadblocks that get thrown up, mental roadblocks that get thrown up when you learn Morse code. How many of us have hit that plateau where you just can't get, a little bit faster, whatever the case might be, or how many of going through when you're learning your letters and numbers, how many have found that darn it, there's just some numbers you just can't get. You just can't get them no matter how often you listen, no matter how often you practice, or what letters are getting to you. And for a lot of people, that's demotivating. It's frustrating. So I think that little bit of sending practice for me, it made a huge difference, because why was I studying Morse code? Because I wanted to get on the air. And even if all I was sending that day were 3 letters or 2 letters, whatever, depending on the course you're following, that was a motivation. It made it a little bit more real. It gave me that little boost. All right, W and J, those are your problem letters. Practice, practice, practice. But the mere fact that I was practicing and sending and listening to myself and recording myself, that was so motivating and would get me over lots of humps as we went forward. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I know my Morse code when I first got on the air. It was pretty brutal sometimes. But the encouragement was there, to try and get better. So like I say, I do think you should start right away. Certainly on the practice page that I use, and in this case it's the LICW one, there are some excellent exercises where the computer will say the letter, there's a pause, and then the computer plays the letter 3 times with a pause between each one. Great opportunity to just take your key. Remember, the computer sends perfect code. In that space, try and send as close as possible to the way the computer sent it. And it's great practice. It's great motivation. And again, you can take that as well, or record it, dating myself there. Record it. Record yourself doing some of those exercises. Record yourself doing sending exercises. All of this reinforces the sound pattern, because what's it all about? It's recognizing the sound pattern that will allow your brain to say, oh, that's a K. Oh, that's an E. There's lots of little things to motivate you. And to me, that's one of the big ones. And yes, you will not be a perfect Morse code sender when you start, but you're going to get there and you're going to improve. And once you're on the air, you're going to improve a lot. So never say, I'm not going on the air because I don't think my sending is good enough. It probably is. Practice, record, practice, record, listen. Listen to the ones from 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, a month ago, whatever, and compare it to how you're doing now. I think that's a really strong point in getting you to stick with it and force yourself to do it. So there you have it, my thoughts on when you should start sending practice or learning how to send the letters that you're studying. Others will have many other comments as well, I'm sure. So give me your thoughts on the matter. Down below, you can add a comment. I love reading them. It can be positive, negative. I don't mind. I read them all, enjoy reading them, and I enjoy you participating. So, and if you are planning to take Morse code and you're going to go to one of the many good organizations out there that teach it, or clubs that teach it for that matter, if they ask how you got there, how you found them, tell them the Shaky Key sent you. It's always fun to see that some of the videos here that I do work and encourage you. We need lots of good Morse code operators out there. We need lots of new Morse code operators out there as well. Everyone's welcome. It's Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec, otherwise known as the shaky key. Have a great day. 73.